Imagine waking up one morning to a world suddenly, eerily gone silent. The familiar hum of daily life, the constant background noise we barely even register, vanished. No cars clogging the streets, no roaring engines, no planes soaring overhead, no distant jet engines breaking the sound barrier, just an unsettling quiet, no power humming through the lines, plunging cities into darkness. This isn't some far-fetched science fiction scenario ripped from the pages of a dystopian novel. It could happen with a single decision, made far from your home, in a place you've likely never even heard of. The modern world as we know it runs on oil. It's the lifeblood of our civilization. And that main tap, the source of so much of our energy, could be shut off in an instant, with devastating consequences. The consequences of such an event would ripple across every city, town, and village on the planet, impacting every single one of us. It all starts in the Middle East, a region of vital strategic importance, specifically at the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow passage is the world's energy artery, a critical choke point for global oil supplies. If it were to be blocked even temporarily, the global economy's heart would stop beating, sending shockwaves through every sector. Oil wouldn't vanish overnight, reserves would buy us some time, but panic, widespread and immediate, would be instant. The news would spread like wildfire, igniting fear and uncertainty. Markets would crash, economies would falter, and daily life, the routines we take for granted, would be irrevocably upended. The day the strait closes is the day our modern way of life, our interconnected and interdependent society, is truly put to the test. Food supplies dwindle, power grids fail, fuel becomes scarce, jobs are lost, because everything, absolutely everything, depends on this fragile, interconnected system. We operate under the assumption that oil will always flow freely, a constant and reliable resource. But what if it doesn't? What if that assumption is shattered? This isn't just a matter of abstract economics or distant political maneuvering. It's about real people, everywhere, their lives, their livelihoods, their futures. A mother in Japan struggling to provide for her family. A truck driver in Germany unable to deliver essential goods. A farmer in America unable to harvest his crops. All would feel the shock, the immediate and devastating impact. Leaders worldwide would be confronted with impossible choices, forced to make decisions with far-reaching consequences. The closure would trigger a chain reaction, a cascade of failures and disruptions, turning what began as an oil crisis into a full-blown crisis of everything, a global emergency unlike anything we've ever seen. Our governments stretched to their breaking points, our economies teetering on the brink of collapse, and global cooperation, the very foundation of our interconnected world, would be tested like never before, pushed to its absolute limit. The silence on the streets, a chilling reminder of what we've lost, would echo the deafening chaos in the markets, a symphony of fear and uncertainty. The world would hold its breath, collectively paralyzed by fear, waiting, anxiously waiting, for what comes next, for the inevitable consequences to unfold. The complex system we rely on, the intricate web that supports our modern lives, is far more fragile, far more vulnerable than we dare to imagine. One narrow waterway, a seemingly insignificant passage on the map, could change everything, forever altering the course of human history. Are we truly ready for that silence? Are we prepared for the world that awaits us on the other side? The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow, strategically vital waterway, a critical artery in the world's energy network. At its narrowest point, it's a mere 21-mile-wide channel. This makes it a particularly sensitive and easily disrupted area. It serves as the essential link, connecting the oil-rich Persian Gulf to the vast expanse of the open ocean and the rest of the world. On one side, dominating the northern coastline, lies Iran. On the other, to the south, are the United Arab Emirates and Oman, sharing control of the strategic waterway. It's the only viable sea route out of the Persian Gulf for large cargo ships, making it indispensable for global trade. It's a true choke point, a maritime bottleneck where the free flow of commerce can be easily restricted. Whoever effectively controls it has the potential to disrupt the world's energy supply, sending shockwaves through the global economy. So, why does this narrow passage matter so much? Oil, black gold, Saudi Arabia, the world's leading oil exporter, Iraq, with its vast oil reserves, Kuwait, a significant player in the global oil market, Qatar, a major producer of both oil and natural gas, and the UAE, another key oil-producing nation, all rely on this strait to ship their oil and gas to international markets. Every single day, an astounding 21 million barrels, that's approximately 1/5 of the entire global oil supply, must navigate and pass safely through this relatively tiny passage. And it's not just oil that's at stake. Qatar's vast reserves of liquefied natural gas also flow through these waters, destined for consumers worldwide. This natural gas is crucial for powering homes and industries from bustling Asian cities to European households. A closure, even a temporary one, would immediately threaten energy supplies for hundreds of millions of people across the globe, potentially triggering widespread economic hardship. The global energy system is deeply interconnected and incredibly sensitive to disruptions. A problem in this critical choke point creates ripples worldwide, impacting economies and lives far beyond the immediate region. As a result, tension in the Strait of Hormuz is constant and ever-present. Iran, in particular, has often threatened closure of the strait during times of conflict or heightened geopolitical tensions. The U.S. Navy, along with naval forces from other nations, maintain a constant patrol in these waters, but the inherent risk of escalation and miscalculation never truly disappears. One miscalculation, a single error in judgment, one act of aggression, however small, and the world feels the consequences almost instantly, in the form of higher energy prices and economic uncertainty. Therefore, the Strait of Hormuz remains the world's most important and arguably most vulnerable waterway, a critical point of potential global instability. Its fate, and the security of its passage, ultimately shapes all our lives, whether we realize it or not. Oil and gas from the Strait of Hormuz fuel the world's biggest economies. Asia is most dependent. China, Japan, South Korea, and India rely on this lifeline. Japan imports nearly 90% of its oil from the Middle East, all through the strait. A closure would paralyze its economy overnight. South Korea and China would face similar crises. Europe, less directly dependent, would still suffer as global oil prices skyrocket. Even the US, now a major producer, can't escape global price shocks. The oil market is global. If prices triple in Asia, they triple everywhere. Economic pain would spread, higher gas, heating, and food prices for all. Industries would falter, jobs would vanish, and trade would collapse. No country is immune in a global energy crisis. Our economies are intertwined. If one falls, all feel the impact. The Strait of Hormuz is the world's energy lifeline. Its closure would be a catastrophe for everyone. The world's prosperity hangs by a thread. The news breaks, a chilling bulletin that sends shockwaves across the globe. Shipping in the Strait of Hormuz has ground to a halt, a critical artery of global trade suddenly severed. The first shock hits financial markets with brutal force, sending indices into a nosedive. Oil prices skyrocket by the minute, a terrifying ascent that threatens to cripple economies. Traders scramble in a frenzy, desperately buying every barrel they can find, fueling the upward spiral. Brent crude surges from $85, a price point that already seemed high, to a staggering $200 in mere hours. The speed of the increase is unprecedented. Stock markets crash, the bottom falls out. Airlines, shipping, manufacturing all plummet, their futures hanging precariously in the balance. Trillions in wealth vanish in a single, devastating day, leaving investors reeling. Governments scramble to calm the panic that's gripping the populace, but words are useless against the rising tide of fear and uncertainty. World leaders hold emergency meetings, their faces etched with worry, desperate for answers and solutions. The UN calls an emergency session. The world teeters on the edge of economic collapse and potential conflict. For ordinary people, the crisis hits home with full force by nightfall, disrupting their lives in profound ways. News alerts flash. Oil prices have doubled, tripled, reaching levels previously thought unimaginable. Gas stations see long lines snaking around blocks as panic spreads like wildfire. People rush to fill up their tanks, fearing shortages or even higher prices tomorrow, a self-fulfilling prophecy in the making. The fear is contagious. It spreads from person to person. Lines breed more panic, creating a vicious cycle of anxiety and scarcity. The crisis leaps from screens to streets, transforming from a news story into a tangible reality. By the end of the day, uncertainty and dread grip the world, casting a long shadow over the future. The first day ends with empty tanks and anxious hearts, a grim testament to the speed and severity of the crisis. The world has changed irrevocably in a single day, its foundations shaken to their core. And this is just the beginning of what promises to be a long and arduous journey. By week's end, the world is unrecognizable. Gas prices have quadrupled, driving is a luxury. Governments ration fuel. Public transport is overwhelmed. The crisis spreads to grocery stores. Food prices soar. Transportation costs explode, causing hyperinflation. Poor families face impossible choices, food or electricity. Global shipping grinds to a halt. Container ships and tankers are stranded, supply chains break, factories shut down, store shelves empty, online orders stop arriving, the globalized world stalls. Daily life transforms, schools and businesses close, blackouts roll across cities, hospitals run on backup power, prioritizing only the most critical patients, the social fabric frays, protests and riots erupt, people are scared, angry, desperate for solutions. The first week reveals how thin civilization's veneer truly is. The world's dependence on oil is exposed, the silence of the pumps is now deafening. Our modern life is more fragile than we ever imagined. The crisis is no longer about oil, it's about survival. How much more can society endure? After a month, the crisis turns into a security nightmare. Diplomacy fails. The world can't wait. Pressure mounts for military action to reopen the strait. US and allied forces gather, aircraft carriers, destroyers, submarines. The mission force open the Strait of Hormuz. The risks are enormous. Narrow waters, prepared defenses, sea mines. Any conflict here would be swift, violent, and could escalate across the Middle East. Airstrikes, minesweepers, special forces, all would be needed. The human cost would be high for soldiers and civilians alike. The world would watch the war unfold live. Even if the strait is reopened, the damage is done. Oil prices would spike higher, infrastructure could be destroyed. The political fallout would last for generations. Reopening the strait by force might solve one problem but create many more. The world would never be the same. Even if the crisis ends, the world won't return to normal. The closure leaves a permanent scar. Energy prices stay high. Oil may never be cheap again. Insurance and risk costs soar. Governments make energy security their top priority. The green energy transition accelerates. Solar, wind, nuclear, and efficiency become urgent. Global trade patterns shift. Companies bring factories closer to home. Goods become more expensive, but supply chains are more reliable. The world grows less globalized, more regionalized. New alliances form around energy security. Middle Eastern oil power declines. New energy leaders emerge. The US, Europe, and China compete for the future. The crisis exposes our vulnerability and forces change. It's a painful lesson, but one that could make us stronger. The memory of the silent pumps will haunt us for generations. Will we learn from it? We've glimpsed a possible future. One event, a changed world. Our civilization is built on cheap, abundant energy, but it's fragile. The Strait of Hormuz is just one of many weak points. Political instability, disasters, or cyber attacks could trigger similar crises. The lesson: we can't take energy security for granted. We must diversify energy, build resilient supply chains, and invest in new technology. It's not just a job for governments. Everyone has a role. The transition will be hard, but necessary. The real question: are we preparing or just hoping disaster never comes? Look around. Everything you use depends on a fragile system. Are you ready for the day it breaks? The silence of the pumps is a warning. What will we do before it's too late?